Thank you so much. Good morning. And we are glad that you created time for us. Health and Lifestyle begins right now on the 3rd day of December, the year 2025. Annually, what usually happens around this day is that we take time as an entire globe to celebrate and appreciate persons with disabilities across the country and the entire world. And of course, Kenya is part and parcel of that commemoration. This year's theme excites me because it's all about reaching out and creating a more inclusive society, a more accessible society for persons with disability. And we'll be talking about what this inclusion actually looks like practically and what needs to be done to be able to make sure that it is served to those who still feel like they have been blocked from whichever space that they want to explore, but because of the disability that they have, they cannot be able to do that. So I have with me people who will speak out of experience, and I also have with me a lady who sits in a board that represents all that comes with, advocating for the rights of persons with disability and also in terms of policy and regulation. Allow me to introduce my panel for the show this particular morning. From my far right there, I'm hosting this morning Hannah Njeri Maina. Hannah sits at the board of directors of the National Council of Persons with Disability, but her background has taken her into a world that she has interacted a lot with persons with disability and even the stakeholders in that space. Karibu sana, Hannah, this morning.
Asante sana.
All right. And we have with us Magdalene Chesoli. Magdalene she wears the shoe of a person with disability quite literally. If you're on social media a lot, I'm sure she's not a new face. She's a content creator. She's into fashion. And I was telling her earlier how I love the vibrance of her dress this morning. And she told me it's a statement she wants to send out there that persons with disability do not have to be silent, do not have to tone down in terms of how they dress, because they need to be seen and to be heard. And thank you so much, Magdalene, for creating time.
Yeah, thank you also for having me here.
Right.
I'm really grateful.
All right. She works with, is Sackleg?
Yes, Sackleg.
Yes. And she will be telling us more about what, she does and also what motivated you to go online and to begin creating content around fashion and persons with disability. And you're also expecting a gentleman who is an disability inclusion champion, Joseph Owino, a para-taekwondo athlete. I'll be telling you more about his achievement once he's here, but it is a gentleman that you should meet and interact with. He will be joining us as we continue having this conversation. But ladies, once again, karibu sana.
Thank you.
And this topic excites me because as I was, just talking to even Magdalene yesterday about it, I wanted us to make it a more positive conversation. For a very long time, we come from a background when we are discussing matters, persons with disabilities, it comes from a point of, I like to call it the woye kind of a tone in talking about it. But I was excited to see that actually there are a lot of people out there who are persons with disability and they are making very big progress. They are winning big in different spaces. And it is about time that we begin shifting this conversation towards that direction so then we can create more spaces for them to come on board and change the world. So as we mark the International Day for Persons with Disabilities, let me begin with you, Hannah. Tell me a bit about what is unique for you this year. What is that, outstanding thing that if you are to celebrate persons with disabilities today, this is the one thing as Hannah that I would insist on?
Thank you so much. The first thing I think I'm so happy about is that this is the first celebration we are having after the new Persons with Disabilities Act 2025, yes, and which has come to bring a very great positive shift in the disability landscape. As you have said, previously, the disability was seen more of as a charitable affair. Voluntary, you help those people as a way of serving God. But now it is more of a right-based model from the new act. It's also a social model showing the persons with disabilities have their rights acknowledged. They should be able to be given their rights like any other person, irrespective of their abilities and disabilities. And again, being a social model is that it is the society that makes the persons with disabilities have a more difficult life, not necessarily the disabilities they have. Mm-hmm. And when we start looking at it at that angle, we now start looking at what can we do to remove the barriers, the hindrances that make their life very difficult. So I think I'm so happy as we celebrate this year because we are now looking at the social progress and we shall be using the new act that now talks about the social inclusion. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for even creating time today. So Magdalene,
yes.
It's your day. You know, talk to us about, you know, the concept of disability actually needs
yes.
to change.
Yes.
There needs to be a dynamic shift in how people view disability. And I want you to talk to me exactly about that as we begin this conversation.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that I'm grateful because there has been a lot of change when it comes to persons with disability. Today is a day where we promote our rights. We are able to create more awareness and show people that we are not limited to just our disability. And for me, what gives me joy is that more persons with disability are coming out. You know, even our caregivers are not hiding some of the children who have disability, because they've now learned that they are not alone. And these kids can grow up to be very, you know, important people. They'll be able to add value to the society. And for me, I just hope that we continue with this, and even any person with disability should be
and as you continue
themselves.
Talking,
Yes.
Sorry to cut you short, just to explain to our viewers what's happening on Split, there is you in your character, you know. She's a content creator online. If you want to interact, where do you find you by the on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I am on LinkedIn, I'm also on Facebook. So I go by the name of Meg Chesoli on those platforms, other than LinkedIn, where it's Magdalene Chesoli.
She even works out, and you're there making excuses. Just saying that you cannot have the energy and the stamina to hit the gym. Look at that. Tell me a bit about what motivated you to take the direction of going on social media in a world where persons with disabilities have been silenced and, you know, really pushed to a small corner. You're here in a space that even people who do not have disability are afraid to delve into. What gave you that confidence?
So let me just give you a small background and
before you give me that background,
yes.
let me just introduce the guest that has just joined us. I told you there's a gentleman we are expecting, and actually somebody who has done a lot in the world of sports, and his name is Joseph Owino, a disability inclusion champion. Joseph, karibu sana. He's a para-taekwondo athlete, and he's a bronze medalist. This was at the 5th African Para-Taekwondo Championships. I'm telling you, I'm hosting this morning a panel that is quite packed. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
We'll be hearing from you shortly. But tell me, Magdalene, sorry to cut you short.
It's okay.
How the journey began?
Okay, so my type of disability is physical. I am a prosthetic user, so I use a prosthetic leg on my left leg for mobility. And my case is congenital, meaning that I was born like that. Growing up, I never really got to meet people like me, you know, who either have one missing leg, they were either amputated in one way or the other. And I used to have self-esteem issues, insecurities, and it's only until I had people who kind of believed in me, pushed me, and realized that there is more to me than just my disability. As much as I would hide it, they saw something else that I personally did not see. And so because of just me trying to embrace myself, it was a journey, one day at a time. And eventually, the day that I now decided to embrace who I am, I remember there was this campaign I was doing, and we were advised to wear, you know, something that would show whichever kind of disability you have. And for me, I had so many shorts, but I'd never like worn them in public. And also just being seen or people looking at my prosthetic, for me that was an issue. Like I didn't want to create any form of attention. And I remember that day when we did that campaign, and I'd say the joy or the feeling I had, you know, when you're just dancing, you're proud of who you are. For me, that was A1, because I could see even the people who were looking at me, they're like, why have you been hiding, you know, all this while? You need to embrace yourself more. And I think it has opened more days, more, I'd say, opportunities for me just from accepting who I am and embracing who I am. So with fashion, this is something I've always been doing since I was young. I love fashion, I love to dress up. However, the clothes I used to wear before were very long. They would literally hide
like
my
trying to hide you.
Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone to even notice that I have any form of disability. But I am grateful that I had to go through that journey, because now I understand anyone who is going through that journey of self-acceptance, of just trying to find themselves as a person with disability. It's a journey, yes, but I've now, like, I'm able to work with someone who is going through that and just let them know it's okay, you're going through this, but don't stay or remain in that state for long.
And I know it was not as easy as you make it sound, coming out of that space and really becoming an advocate and a champion for persons with disabilities. We'll talk about that journey. Okay. But Timothy, once again, karibu sana.
Thank you.
You have also beat the odds to become even a leader, a youth leader. And I just want to hear a bit about yourself as well and how life has been for you and your point of transition.
Thank you so much, Serafin. This is Joseph Owino, and I have the privilege that I don't take for granted to be hosted by you and Citizen TV at large. Coming in today as we celebrate the International Day for Persons with Disabilities, it's a remarkable day that we don't need to take for granted in our societies. Because for me, I view it as an avenue to tell of our stories and also to tell of the magnitude we've come from as a nation in championing disability inclusion within our societies. Personally, connecting with whatever my colleague Mega said, you know, for her, like she said, she had disabilities congenital, meaning that she was born with it. Mine is a different case because I got it while growing up at the age of 6, 7 through a minor road accident. Lost through after some time seeking for medical intervention. Then I now have my hand as it is. Then now also again connecting with that story whereby that aspect of people staring at you, that prejudice, people thinking on their own of whatever caused you disability without asking you, like...
And the awkward silent moments.
Yep. Yeah. Because I even go to times that I also myself had to always put on long-sleeved shirts so that I get to hide it, because sometimes people will stare at you, even after you've passed each other, they will still turn back and be wondering, what is this? And there are those who also will come out often and ask me, I've always thought or had the impression that you go to a disability through a ban, which is not the case for me. So there are those who always have that premonition that he got a disability because of ban, which is not the case. So there are those who get to ask, there are those who don't get to ask. Thinking that again, for those who get to ask, sometimes say, I've just asked, because I've felt, let me ask, but sometimes the reason why we don't ask is sometimes we think that it might bring back the memories of the pain that you experienced. So for me, it has taken a lot while, and now being that now I'm into the space, championing awareness and inclusion. Now I have to put on a short-sleeve shirt so that at least people get to know. Because sometimes you might host me here putting on a long-sleeve shirt, people might ask, where is this disability? We can't see it. And another thing we also must know as a society is that disability is not just visible. There are those disabilities that are invisible, because not every disability you can see by the look of the eye. Because let's say, for example, you're hosting somebody who's deaf. If at all you don't get to engage this person in communication, one-on-one, you won't know that this person has disability. And it cuts across a number of domains, because there are those also with developmental disabilities that until you get to know them, until you get to engage them, that's when you get to know. And apart from that, I also engage with a number of institutions. One of them is the Kenya Disability Parliamentary Association. There's a parliamentary caucus that brings together members of parliament, both the members of parliament and senators with the disabilities, those who are nominated to represent persons with disabilities, and as well as those who are elected to represent single-member constituencies but have disability, plus also those who are passionate about championing disabilities within parliament. So that at least we get to work together and champion disability inclusion within that arm of government, and also see how it can be cascaded down into our societies by working with a number of stakeholders.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that as well, and also your world into sports.
Thank you.
And the achievements you have had in there.
Yeah.
But coming back to you, Hannah, this is a moment that as a council you sit down and take stock of the progress that has been made and what needs to be done to, achieve more in the coming year. And this year's theme is all about inclusion, for persons with disability. I want you to talk about that area. What exactly has been done to ensure that we have a society that includes persons with disability, and what are the gaps that we're still dealing with?
Okay, thank you. For the inclusion, it's all about acknowledging that persons with disabilities are supposed to be part of the society. They should be allowed to participate, contribute, and be part of the decision-making process. Otherwise, if they are left out, inclusion will not happen. So as a council, we look so much into disability inclusion, and one of the major things we are doing is advocacy and awareness creation. Because as we have known previously, disability was not so much embraced. When you go to the workplaces, people are not really sure what to do with the persons with disabilities. We may want to embrace them, but how do we do it? So basically what the council is mainly doing is to create awareness, because we have to understand what the disabilities mean, what are their abilities, what are the challenges they have. So the first thing we look at is to empower the person with disability himself or herself. Let them first accept their situation. Let them do the necessary. If it is education, let them get the relevant education. If it's about health, let them seek the appropriate health intervention for the sake of their better well-being. If it's about anything else in the society, let them know what is there for them and how they can access it. Basically, the services that are there for them. Apart from the person themselves, we also want to create awareness at the workplaces and the employers. Let people know, especially the current requirement that 5% of the workers must be persons with disabilities. Let them understand how to engage them, whom to engage at what juncture. How do you identify that somebody is the rightful person? Because even if you employ somebody, we can see the disability itself physically or through our eyes, but that person has not been registered as a person with disability. It may not be legally correct because we do not know whether it is the right description. That has to be done through assessment. And assessment and registration, that is still the work of the council.
So all persons with disabilities must first register with the council for it to be legal?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Like you cannot become a Kenyan citizen without a Kenyan identification card.
That's important.
Yeah, it's very, very important that all persons with disabilities have to be registered. And the process is now simpler because it has been devolved to the county governments. Before it was done at the national level, the registration. But now at least you can get it at the level of the county. And again, we are doing a lot of mass registration. We do mass assessment, registration, and we do everything at one sitting. So apart from the workplaces, we also have the society in general. Let people understand that persons with disabilities are like any other human being with their rights. So they should enjoy their rights and privileges without the issue of looking at the disability. And as I said, it is the society that makes the situation difficult. For instance, if you put up a physical building, you don't put a ramp for the ones with physical disabilities to access it. You are making their lives more difficult. So basically, if we create awareness, let everybody know what they are supposed to do to make the lives of persons with disabilities. And then the other thing we also really want them to come out is self-advocacy. Like what we are having today. They are advocating for themselves.
And they can't speak for us.
Yes.
They can
and they normally, they say, whatever is done for us without us is not for us. Anything we do for persons with disabilities, we have to include them. And now the word inclusion.
All right. And today, like they say, Timothy has decided it's short-sleeved so that nothing... Joseph has decided he's wearing a short-sleeved. And Magdalene has decided it's a beautiful short dress so that at least we can normalize disability and say that disability is indeed not inability. You're getting into a space that is very... I was having a conversation with you and saying fashion is a world that is tied to a lot of perfectionism. And I don't know how you decided to go that direction and how it was for you just breaking the ground and what motivated you to get into that space. For persons with disabilities to see you there and to see that you're actually doing something there is quite something. So tell me a bit about how you got into the fashion world, the modeling and content creation, you know.
Fashion is for everyone, and specifically for me, as I had mentioned earlier, it's something that I had been doing since I was young. Like I would go buy clothes, wear them, and you see the reaction I'd get from people. They'd be like, you look good, you look nice, and stuff like that. And by that time, of course, I was hiding my leg. But now when I embraced myself, did a bit of research just to see, what's happening online. And I noticed every other time I would wear something short or something that reveals my leg, people would look at me a certain way, like, kumbe hata wewe unaweza ngara, and I'm like, but I'm a human being just like you. The fact that I have a physical challenge doesn't mean that I can't also dress up. And I realized there was a gap. We are also consumers. Persons with disabilities are also consumers. We buy clothes, we buy shoes, and we want to look good. You know, we want people to see that we care about ourselves. And for me, I realized, even with the organizational companies that are out there that are marketing, whether it's clothes, it's shoes, you rarely get to see a person with disability marketing the same, because we're also consumers. And so for me, I thought this is something that I can tap to, and in order for me to create awareness, in order for me to ensure that we are also represented, we are seen, and we are included in these spaces, I have to start with something. You know, I have to start somewhere. I can't say that I want us, you know, we can't like be saying that we want to be represented, and yet we as PWDs, there's nothing we are doing. As much as we are self-advocating, we also need to be, you know, positive about everything and go for it, no matter what you go through. And so for me, I noticed, because this was a gap, I was like, let me start small. And so I would wear my clothes. It's not like I'm promoting a particular brand or a particular, you know, organization. These were just clothes that I've bought, and some have been customized, some I've just seen them in different shops, and I loved them, and then I bought them. And so I thought, how can I, you know, continue with creating awareness? And the only way for me to do that is for people to see. And so the videos that you've just shown, I do them in CBD town, where I want people to see. For me, I was born like that, yes. I don't know how it was for my parents giving birth to a child who has one missing leg. Were they stigmatized? No. Were they called names? Are they cursed? Are they, you know, I don't know, were they discriminated? And I want any parent, any person who has an amputation or a person with disability to know that they can be who they want, they can do whatever they want. And so for me, I have received so many positive, you know, messages from people who are like, we like what you're doing, keep doing that. You've made me like even realize, oh, so I can wear this outfit, because we have different types of disabilities. So maybe I might be comfortable wearing a short dress, and someone else who uses, let's say, a caliper, probably because they don't want the dress or the short to get torn, they want like pockets or something just customized depending on the, yes. So for me, I am all about just, you know, style and disability, and showing people that these are two powerful ways in which one can embrace themselves or even just express themselves. Yeah.
Disability can be fashionable. She has proven that it actually can. You can follow her on social media just to be able to see how she does it. But her messaging is what is more important. Her focus and what she's trying to do with the content creation is what is more important. Joseph, tell me a bit about sports. Yeah? That's also another area that has been tied to a lot of, you know, it's not easy. You can't just wake up and become and excel like you have in the world of sports. So tell me a bit about how you got into that space and about your achievement.
Mine was very maiden, and I can say I come from a family of sports persons, more so, being that my dad in his heydays was a goalkeeper, and growing up, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a goalkeeper like him. But now the disability came at a very early age, while still under at the lower primary schooling level. And so I tried juggling into, yes, within the village or within a smaller community. I could engage with my colleagues, do the home football, and sometimes, even after my disability, could end up at the goalpost, which again at my own detriment, because I will have a run, like a lot of run in and out with my dad, because he didn't want me to again expose myself to the extreme danger, because now having harmed my left hand, the right hand being the remaining one, was to help me now engage with other activities. But again, finding myself playing football will also put me in danger with him. But I'll still go on, because I was that hyper kid, you know. And bit by bit, getting to high school, I tried volleyball again, which I loved, but I could train with my colleagues doing the physical preparation, but now getting into the pitch, I couldn't get a chance because again of the disability. But I kept soldiering on. We could still play the normal football, not competitive one, with my colleagues. But now I got a game changer when I got to campus, you know, because in my second year, there's a coach that came to scout for people because he works with the Kenya Taekwondo Federation, and I have to mention him, Mr. Coach John Kamodo. You know, like he came to scout for people because they were putting up the Kenya Taekwondo Federation has the able-bodied team, and they were putting up a para team, that is the team for those with disabilities. And so they had specifications because again, you know, with such a game there is classification aspect. And so they had specifications in terms of the people they have to include in such a team. And for such a case, you have to have a disability affecting your upper limbs but not lower limbs, because with that you can't find yourself in the ring. So for me, when he gave the specifications, I fitted. I qualified. And so he came in, we engaged, and bit by bit I was incepted into the game, that is para taekwondo, to a point that now I was incepted into the national team. I could train, and the first time we went for first game, that was in late 2021. That is was in Istanbul, Turkey. The second time was in Niger. That is in February 2022, where we had our 5th African Para Taekwondo Championships. That's the first and the only game that gave me a medal. That's a bronze medal.
Highlight of it.
That's a highlight of it.
Bronze medal. Show for it.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And it didn't just end there, because for me, I always look at it from a point of, I've gotten to this space. I've seen the hurdles that are there. How can we open it up mainstream for other people to get into the game? Because yes, for me, I can do taekwondo. But how about that colleague who's on a wheelchair? He or she can't do taekwondo, but there can be an alternative game for him or her to at least do. And because I always pick sports as an avenue to do 3 things. One is an avenue for recreation. As a person's ability, you can also do sports to enjoy yourself and also as a leisure activity. 2 is also an avenue to enhance awareness about disability, because I pick it from a point of, it's an avenue to tell of the community that we have the ability, because now you can see me doing, not see me talking to you about disability inclusion. You can see it from, it's an activity-oriented mission. Then thirdly is an economic empowerment engagement, because when you get to avenue where now you are you are a champion within the game, you can fend for yourself.
And something.
Through sports, because we have notaries, we have outstanding individuals who've stood out because of sports. My good friend Henry Wanyoike is a case example, because he is somebody who's even authored books, currently doing mentorship, and is a gold medalist from Paralympics, you know, even if he has disability. And there's one thing he told me, that Ronald Joseph, when I'm put in here as Henry Wanyoike and Eliud Kipchoge, both of us are gold medalists. My gold medal is not lesser, because I'm a person with disability. So that tells you that if we get to carve out a potential for young people with disabilities or people with disabilities within the sporting arena, it can even work for them. Then to finalize on this, you know, like being that now I'm coming in to see how we can co-create something that brings their potential, especially from a sporting avenue, to life. Personally, I'm in a program that is provided by the International Olympic Committee. It's called the International Olympic Committee Young Leaders Program. This is where I'm incubating a sports project that's supposed to target young people with disabilities within our campuses. Because as somebody who was scouted within the campus, I know the hurdles that are there for students with disability to get into the mainstream sporting. And you know, the sporting for persons with abilities is divided into 3. And like the sporting for those with disabilities that is conjoined together, for us it's divided into 3 because of our type of disability. There is the Paralympics that takes care for those with physical and visual disabilities. There's the Deaf Olympics that just happened made last month from 15th to 26th was happening in Tokyo, and I know you had the stories of Kenyans who and performed excellently, you know. And also thirdly, there's the Special Olympics. This is for those people with the neuro kind of disabilities, you know. So when you see all this, that tells you that we have the potential to include everyone, because our sport is very funny. Our sport is very funny because that with that kind of division, it allows for everyone to get a discipline to participate and excel in it.
Thank you, Joseph. We still have more to discuss when it comes to, you know, just making sports inclusive. But Hannah, having had, you know, both what they are doing, and I know there are many Josephs out there, many Magdalenes out there. Some have not even gotten the space to come out and showcase what they are doing. What has the council done or is doing to really bring this talent on board and make sure that they are nurtured and, you know, the potential they are talking about really comes out?
Yeah, okay, thank you. One thing I would want to acknowledge is the council has a vast area of implementation. So they have tried to implement the very basic parts. One, when they start with the registration, they identify the persons with disabilities, their characteristics, and what are their needs. So when they run about that, and you see inclusion begins from the early age, because they start with the basic education. If you don't get the basic education, despite wanting to be included, you may have some handles. You see, education is an empowerment program. So at the moment, they have insisted that all education levels must be inclusive, meaning the needs of the persons with disabilities in the institutions have to be taken care of to ensure they pursue education and benefit from the education like any other person. Formerly, you would see a person with disability or a child with disability taken to school. They are just pushed through classes, not so much about are they achieving, are they not achieving,
are they getting
value? They are just there.
Yeah.
Actually, it was more of like a daycare. They have a place to go during the day to be with the others. Yes. Yeah. But now we want to get quality out of the education they are having. Apart from education, we are also looking at so many other aspects. Once you are now out of education, the other thing is training, vocational training or the higher education. Again, if it is made inclusive, it means you just also acquire a skill that is valuable in your life. There is a difference between pursuing a course for the sake of it and the prestige and everything. But in future, due to the space you are going to join, you cannot make it. Again, with the council, they are also looking to ensure those things are happening. They are really trying to do a lot of empowerment in those training institutions. In addition to that, they are going now to the outside world. These people with disabilities are educated now. They are empowered with the skills, so we need to give them jobs.
Yeah. So how is that space looking like right now?
At the moment, it's not very, I cannot say it's
let's
not
be
very
honest.
bad, not very good.
Yeah?
Because actually I'm saying, about even when we look at the government or the public institutions, we are still struggling to absorb the persons with disabilities. But anyway,
and there is a law to that effect that is supposed to ensure that that happens.
The beauty is,
are we obeying that law?
The law has been signed and it's now being implemented, but we are now in the process of developing the regulations.
Okay.
Once the regulations are there, then we create awareness on what is required. Then the next thing will be checking whether people are compliant.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing the next 2, 3, 5 years, there'll be a dramatic shift. And I'm hoping we shall now be talking of 10% employment, not even 5%. Because when people start embracing, it now naturally comes. People understand. They are now aware what to look at, whom to absorb, how to absorb them. Apart from absorbing them, how to work with them. You know, you can bring somebody on board just to be seen you have a person with disability.
Just to be seen that you are
you have complied. But when you come to the actual implementation of the work, they may not be able to do something. But now if somebody has now understood even how to incorporate them, absorb them, then that we shall say we have achieved. Basically, we can say a lot is being done. And the beauty is we have shifted from the old act that, you see, the act came before the Constitution and before the ratification of the Convention of Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So most of the things that we were having there still needed a lot of adjustments. And we really thank our president for signing that. has taken some time.
Act of 2025.
Yes,
yeah.
We really appreciate that. For me, I feel it's a great milestone for the persons with disabilities. The only thing we have to...
If you were to mention just 3 key highlights of this act, what gives you joy as a stakeholder in that?
The first thing, previously, the caregivers or the parents of children with disabilities were never recognized. And in a particular way, personally, I'm so much into the field of the ones with developmental and intellectual disabilities. These children, due to their cognitive abilities, may never be able to stand in for themselves. So more often than not, it is the caregivers who stand in for them. Now, this time, the caregivers are now recognized. They have now been incorporated into the system. They'll benefit as parents of children with disabilities. That is a key milestone. The other thing is the inclusive society, education, and healthcare. More often than not, persons with disabilities have suffered, especially in the healthcare. We are still struggling even with the SHA thing because of some of the mobility aids, assistive devices are not part of the packages. Yeah. So now people are starting to embrace that. It is now becoming part of the packages that are supposed to benefit persons with disabilities. So if that is inclusive health, inclusive education I've at least explained into bits, and then now inclusive society. We now want to bring out persons with disabilities. We no longer want to hide them. Because when we hide them, we make their situations worse. And I give a good example. When you have a child with disability, you leave them at the house or on the couch every day, you are making their bodies more weak, their muscles more weak. So every day the disability progresses.
Becomes worse.
Yes, it becomes worse every day. But when you let them go out there, interact with their fellow children, they learn from their peers, their bodies are active. So the disability somehow it's a therapy on its own.
Thank you for saying that, because even you, if you sleep the whole day, what happens?
Yeah.
Or if you sit somewhere the whole day, what happens?
Yes.
Nafika Mali, you feel like, hey, you need to at least you wake up and walk a bit.
Yeah, you see,
so
now,
it's good you've
when that now stigma has been reduced, anybody can bring out their children.
And let's talk about that stigma. Magdalene.
Yes.
From a person with disability, what does stigma look like? What does it feel like, or what is it like living in a society where disability has not been fully embraced? Let's talk about...
So when it comes to stigmatization, this is something I have personally faced, and I've also seen other persons with disability who are my friends who've also faced. And I think it's the stares, it's the non-verbal communication that you see people, show us. It's the way they also treat us, because if I am walking somewhere and someone does not, give me way, or someone kind of feels like when they come close to me, then I'm going to infect them. And this is not an infectious disease. And when it comes to even employment, someone feels like, okay, you have a disability, but we feel like you will not be suited here. And maybe you have skills, you've gone to school, you have that capability to do that. It's not a good thing, especially when, people feel like you're not worthy of certain opportunities or certain things, and it makes even the person to have self-worth esteem issues. I'll give an example of myself. I remember when I was looking for a job the first time. I know National Council, supports in terms of you taking your documents, and in case there are any opportunities from different organizations, you are able to be called and you go for the interview and stuff like that. And I remember for me, when I went to one of the organizations for a job interview, and they didn't know that I had a disability. I had not indicated in my CV. And I remember them now asking me questions where I was able to answer yes, but again, I had now to inform them that I have this kind of disability. And I could see the reaction on their faces, just the nonverbal communication. And that's how I never got that opportunity. And also just interaction with other people, as I had mentioned, like in terms of them looking at us and feeling like, if I interact with this person, then I'm going to be infected. I'm going to be like this person. And these are some of the things that have made me realize that I need to be the change that I want to see in the world. And in order for me to do that, I need to continue with my advocacy. I need to show people that.
So what's your messaging around? How are you packaging your content to really change that narrative of stigma?
So for me, it's one step at a time, and that's why I've started with now style and fashion, and also in terms of prosthetics generally. And I've realized that, you see, in order for people to embrace us, in order for people to accept who they are, and for them to see that, oh, they don't have an issue, what I do is that I have been privileged enough to even go to schools where I talk to students. I'm able to let them know that, yes, we have this category of people with disability, and this is the cause, and stuff like that, but also reminding them that these are people who can also be productive in life. As much as they have this kind of disability, they have these capabilities. And I've seen, even interacting with kids, interacting with students, you see them having a different perception and realizing, okay, so it's not bad, this is not something bad, it has happened to this person, but yes, they can amount to something else. The other thing is just creating awareness in terms of my content creation, and ensuring that more people are aware of, the things that we go through as persons with disability.
All right, Joseph, I wanted to add on to that. We have an act now in place.
Yep.
The council is doing what it can, but who needs to do what, and for us to really achieve the gains we are looking at when it comes to inclusion? How should we change the strategy?
For me, I think this should not be one man or one-man job or one-man show, kind of an affair, but rather it should be everybody conjoined and coming in together.
So who should do what? Let's talk about that.
Like, there's the place of the government, there's the private sector, there's the community, there's the civil society, all having a role to do, because you find that there's something like, for example, opening up access to employment. It's for everybody. Employment opportunities. And we're glad that after the assent, the presidential assent to that bill that now made it be an act, there are a number of developments that came in. One of them is a directive from the head of public service, Honorable Felix Koskei, who gave an advisory to state institutions from the ministry, state departments, parastatals, and all that, to have like one of the recommendations he brought in was these institutions to bring up a disability mainstreaming unit within these institutions to advise on how to hasten inclusion of persons with disabilities within their systems. And like for these to work, it is not just about employment and to tick the box. No. Reasonable accommodation within these institutions is a key factor. She talked about accessibility, which is also a very pertinent issue within a society, because if at all I can't access your systems and be comfortable within a certain setting, then even if you employ me, pay me how much, I'm still not included within the space. So you find that with such, you find that you have to there have to be a multi-sectoral collaboration so that this is effected from issues about universal design, because this affects nearly every sector within the country or within the economy, be it health sector, be it education, access to justice, which is also a very critical issue within our society. All these must be brought together. And also, I'm saying this because I engage or get to work hand in hand with parliamentarians who have the key roles of legislation, oversight, and even representation. One of the key issues here is oversight, and that needs to be enhanced so that issues about, one, allocation of resources needs to be enhanced so that at least the support system or support structures for persons with abilities is enhanced. The National Council of Persons with Abilities is being underfunded. And one of the reasons it's being underfunded because we don't have the requisite data as it should for persons with abilities in the country. If at all, if at all we are having a global population of persons with abilities to the magnitude of 16% globally, in a population of 8 billion people. And in Kenya, a third world country or a developing country, we're told that our population is 2.2% of our population. There's a problem somewhere because the numbers need to be commensurate, because you can't tell me that we have that wide gap. And look into how the National Council is going extra mile to depend now on the supplementary budget to get to finance its activities that are very key and very core to the welfare of persons with disabilities in the country. Then this now has to be an advocacy measure, because we can't say as a country that we supporting the welfare of persons with disability 100% when even the population is not taken care of. When
it's not fully known.
Fully known.
Like how many people
yeah.
persons with disability.
Yep. And
how
even
do you budget for a population that you do not know.
Yeah. And even to connect it, there's also, we lack a disaggregated data. What do we mean by disaggregated data? These like data that now you get to know that there are intersectionalities within the disability space. We have women with disabilities, we have men with disabilities, we have young people with disabilities, and you also have different types of disabilities. Yeah. This population is not known. Counties, we have counties in the country. There is diversity in terms of prevalence of disability in each county. There are counties like, for example, I'm hailing from Siaya County. It's the third most county where disability is hugely prevalent, you know. And so if at all we don't know of such a phenomena, then we are at a detriment within our society, because we currently we have the devolved systems of governance within the country. Right. And if at all we have devolution, then where we have the CECs for social welfare within our society or within our counties, who don't know even the population of persons with disabilities they are handling. We have the county assemblies that have representation for persons with disabilities, which is also a problem. Then we are neither here nor there in terms of enabling effective representation and welfare taken care of persons with disabilities.
Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah. And I just want to add something to what he's mentioned in terms of data. One thing I've also realized is that when it comes to gender-based violence, like these are cases, we've had so many cases of gender-based violence, and when you even Google or even just try to find out what's the particular, you know, statistics or even numbers of persons with disabilities who've like gone through that, you can't really, you can't find it. Even in the mainstream media, in the digital media, you only get to hear cases of other able-bodied people who've undergone, you know, such cases. And if we have, you know, data, if we create more awareness around such issues that we've raised, then we'll be able to assist in terms of just ensuring that we are also included.
And I want you to add on to that as we wind up, because we've run out of time. What is the impact of, you know, sort of like what I would call delving into this dark room that lights have not been switched on? How is it affecting our strategy, our interventions, our efforts to really support, you know, persons with disability?
Yeah, okay, I would say when we do not have a clear data, and again, data disintegrated in the various categories, needs and all that, it becomes difficult to do budgeting, because you have to budget when you know exactly what you are budgeting for. So at the moment, we are also working to see if we could have a census of the persons with disabilities, just to establish whether the 2.2 is correct or we have a different figure. At the council level, we are working out to see if we will make it. So there is something already happening. We appreciate, though we are also having some challenges here and there. It becomes very, very difficult, but we appreciate. We are also doing our own registration. It's also part of some of the data we are gathering.
Okay.
Yeah, as much as we may not be in a position to do the census as we want to have it now, but at least from the number of people we are registering, very soon we are going to see whether the figure is
numbers you can work with.
And the beauty is when we are registering, we normally disintegrate the data, which category of disability, the severity, is it mild, is it severe? So at the end of the day, we shall be having good data. It may take time, but gradually we will be there.
Your parting shot, Hannah, as I also give both of them. Let's find a way of ending it. I know we have a lot to talk about.
Okay, for me, I would speak, and from the council's level, what we really want everybody to acknowledge in the disability field, the first thing is to see disability as a diversity, not as a problem. Then you remove barriers that make people have more challenges because of their disabilities. Then we continue celebrating disabilities as abilities, not limitations. When we look in that perspective, then we have more decision to support rather than to stigmatized. Again, we include persons with disabilities in all decision making. Even if it is in a village cattle dip, they also own a cow. Why don't they be given a chance to also contribute?
Yeah.
From the lowest level to the highest level.
Yeah.
Let's involve them in the decision making.
Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah, and again, we ensure in all sectors, we provide equal opportunities for their employment, their education, and any other services we are offering.
Thank you.
Let's be have a more purpose to serve the persons with disabilities.
Thank you so much. Magdalene, your final words?
I think for me, I would just want to urge different stakeholders when it comes to matters to do with disabilities. Let's collaborate together. As Joseph had mentioned, this is not a one-man thing to do. And when we come together, we'll be able to create more awareness around inclusion, around representation for PWDs. Let's also improve in terms of communication when it comes to signage. It could be in the police station, it could be in the different buildings, different organizations, for it to also cater for the other categories of persons with disability, the deaf, the blind, and let people just embrace us. As long as we are qualified, we have these skills, yeah, we should be included in all the different areas.
You. Joseph?
Before my parting shot, I have to say that the media is a key stakeholder in this, enabling inclusion and awareness within societies. But there's where we have a big challenge in terms of information dissemination. You've always had the inception or inclusion of a sign language interpreter when having like news, more so the primetime news and such. But the normal programming, where's the sign language interpretation aspect? These needs to be taken care of so that our colleagues who are deaf can also be included, because there are programs that are also of importance to them, like this one. Yeah, like this one and even more. Like there's my colleague who complained when you were airing the State of the Nation address, but it didn't have sign language interpretation, which is a key issue that they need also to follow and see how it can be taken up, and they get to participate and see whatever comes forth.
Thank you for that challenge to us.
Yeah. So
that's really something.
Engage the management, see how these can be incepted in the normal day-to-day operation, so that at least our colleagues are not left out. And so my parting shot, I'll given a quote from my professor of the School of Thought, that is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said that I have the audacity, who said, and I quote, that I have the audacity to believe that peoples everywhere can have 3 meals a day. And that is education and culture for their minds, dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Joseph Owino, for saying that. That's a powerful way of ending this conversation. Of course, I was engaging a panel of 3. Joseph Owino is a disability inclusion champion, and he's an award-winning athlete, of course, carrying a bronze medal in the para-taekwondo category from the 5th Africa Para-Taekwondo Championships. I have to make noise about that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we're also engaging this morning Magdalene Jesoli, community manager at SACLEG. And of course, she's a disability advocate, has gone big on social media to create content that breaks a stigma. And also this morning, we were talking to Hannah Maina. She sits at the board of directors at the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. Asante sana, ladies and gentlemen, for creating time for us. Thank you so much. And that's how we end it. My name is Safin Achieng Olma.
Thank you so much.